What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're taking a look at a team that I stole in the Fantasy Cup from another content creator, Elodicolo, fellow content creator. He's over on Twitch, though, and he did make this team and share it on Twitter. So I gave it a shot and took it for a run and went on a nice 7-3 rip with this team. And this team is just incredible. So let me go ahead. It's a little bit of one of those ones that's not necessarily super accessible. So let me go ahead and go through each member of the team and kind of give you a breakdown on what you can use instead. So the lead is going to be a Shadow Scizor. If you have one, awesome. You're all set. Trailblaze, Night Slash, Bullet Punch, that moveset is such good coverage into this meta, and Scizor just hits so hard on so many things that you're going to be in a really good spot if you can get this thing on a good matchup especially. The second member of this team is going to be a Dragapult. Now, I honestly think that this thing is probably the star of the show. If you guys have been following me for a while, for the last several times we've had Fantasy Cup, Giratina has been unstoppable. And the reason for that is because of ghost typing in this meta is just almost completely unresisted by anything except for like Wigglytuff, which you know how I feel about that thing. Anyway, so this particular team is utilizing Dragapult. If you don't have a Dragapult, you could probably use an Azumarill here. I'm not going to lie, that would probably make a lot of sense. Or a Tapu Fini if you have one of those as well. And in the back, as our safe switch, we're going to have the Giratina Giratina Origin. And that, if you don't have one of those, which I know is probably the most likely thing that people aren't going to have, because you have to trade one from someone else to get it. At least Dragapult, you can go catch one. But as far as Giratina, if you don't have one, you could use a Flygon on the safe switch. You'd be fine with that as well. Let's get into these games here with this team. And again, credits to Elodicolo for this team. Extremely talented battler and really good team. A lot of fun with this team. We hit a really nice lead here in the first game. Also, readjusting my music volume. Let me know in the comments if it's just right or too loud. I've been getting back and forth with my volumes all over the place. I'm trying to make sure it's completely fixed, so appreciate the feedback. And we are going to shield up a move, even though they're going to have only resisted moves here. If they're not switching out of my Scizor in this lead with such a bad matchup with Niantic, I can't imagine what they're going to have in the back. And they come in with an Alolan Dugtrio. Trainer better shield this or they're going to have a bad day.
Boom!
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. And the Azumarill's in the back. And we have two things that have very strong play into Azumarill because of how long it takes Azumarill to get to its moves, even Ice Beam. Giratina and Dragapult can both get to their moves in good order here. Now, the thing I noticed, or that I've known from prior experience with using my Giratina, is that it can take a play rough from full HP from an Azumarill, and the opponent's forced to shield. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball on 3 because I don't know if I'm living the next bubble and I don't want to risk it. But if the opponent doesn't go down to this, I can bring in my Dragapult. We still have a shield. The Astonish goes through, and we take game 1 here. Well played to the opponent. Next game, we got Scizor on the lead versus Turtonator. Oh, no, get me out of this thing. If we don't want to single Incinerate to land on our Scizor, that would just be bad. And sometimes what I'll do, especially with something like Incinerate, is I'll throw one move into the like one Bullet Punch and then swap. The reason why we don't do that here, and I'm gonna pause it just so I can make sure that y'all understand and I can comprehensively give you this point. Scizor, basically, there's no ability for us to come back in that matchup and do anything, because in order to get a charge move off against the Dragapult, we would or against the Turtonator, we would basically have to take an Incinerate. So in this case, I want to swap immediately and get as much energy head start on my Giratina as possible to try to give us the best chance to flip switch. If I go for one Bullet Punch into the Turtonator, it gives us one less Shadow Claw on the Giratina, and it gives us less energy to work with in the secondary matchup, if that makes sense. Now, we are able to get rid of the Turtonator. The opponent is not having a good time seeing this, and they come in with the Dugtrio here, and as you guys saw, Dugtrio is so fragile. This thing, if you saw something that was akin to wet toilet paper in the Great League, it's this thing. No bulk whatsoever. Gonna let this move go here because I don't want them to have a chance to shield again and farm me down. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the Dragapult here and look to get this farm down, just barely getting it. And the opponent's got a Togedemaru in the back, and they decide to concede, saying they don't want to mess with this thing, and I wouldn't either. Good game. And that makes sense as to why they stayed in with the Turtonator, because they didn't have an answer in the back. Now we get an amazing lead here. Fairies is the best thing for Scizor to see here. Opponent comes in with a Flygon that is on Sand Attack, and I'm really not sure how to respond here. And the reason why is because this Flygon, honestly, it's going to hurt me really bad. So I can't stay in because I have to have something to deal with the wheezing. So I do get a shield here, and then I'm gonna come in with my Dragapult, and I see an opportunity now to maintain switch advantage. But the thing is that the opponent most likely has overheat on that wheezing, so I'm gonna have to just go for the Shadow Ball here and hope that either I get the final shield and I'm able to land a Shadow Ball with Giratina later, or they just let it go. Trainer, we don't bait in this house. They don't know. No. Anyway, I'm going to go for a couple of Astonishes, trying to reach that Shadow Ball, but once I realize I'm not going to get it, I just go ahead and throw this energy, and we get an attack drop on the opponent, which is nice. Giratina can pretty comfortably now come in and tank a Mud Bomb if it needs to, or even an Iron Head. I did find out that the Doug Trio learns that as well. And the debuff Mud Bomb is not going to do much. We're going to be able to go into the Scizor, bank the energy if we really... I mean, I didn't really need to, but we're going to go ahead and get the game here. Well played. My thinking in that moment was trying to catch the Mud Bomb in case they were at it, but they weren't. So we get another amazing lead here with Whimsicott. And I don't know what it is with trainers playing Whimsicott and the, what is it, the Shiinotic. I don't know why they stay in. I mean, they must be ABA weak to the Scizor. There are definitely some teams that are not respecting Scizor, and Scizor can just mow through teams. Now, I've also seen a lot of Fairy double Mud Slap, like this right here. Excadrill's going to come in. They are rocking the Mud Slap as well. Again, just going to go ahead for some chip, maybe get the shield here, and then Dragapult's going to come in. The opponent has no shields left. We can fully farm this down here with a shield of our own and easily be able to come out of this with a lot of energy from with a Dragapult in order to deal with this. Dragapult with Shadow Ball is silly, dude. We're gonna go for as many moves over farm as we can, and I'm going for a very risky play here. I'm hoping that the Breaking Swipe will be enough to knock out, and it is, thankfully, and we're gonna be able to get a Shadow Ball off against the Azumarill. I guess maybe the Azumarill is why the opponent didn't want to switch, but even like Azumarill into Scizor is honestly not that bad for the Azumarill because the bubbles do so much damage. Anyway, using our information that we gleaned from the last game, we will never get one shot by Play Rough here, so we can easily just go for the Ominous Wind when we get to it, and that will pretty much guarantee a knockout with as low as the Azumarill is, and that should take this game here. Well played to the opponent. And that's why these dragons are so strong, because nothing resists the Ghost. Even the Giratina on the lead here in this next game, we don't really want to swap in our Ghosts here. And the reason why we don't want to do that is because we're going to take super effective Shadow Claws, and if I bring in my Giratina now, it's going to be behind on energy. It's not going to have a good time. So I'm going to commit to this matchup with Scizor, trying to throw on awkward timing, like, you know, on not even timing, but just awkward move counts, right? So like 1 over the Night Slash, just in case they try to catch, and try to CMP tie them in case they try to throw the Ominous Wind, which they have been. Now at this point, I can let this go. The opponent would not, I mean, they're going to farm me down regardless, and I'm pretty sure I'm not getting to another move here. And this farm is going to be pretty nice for Dragapult. The opponent has dropped all of their shields, and there is nowhere for them to hide from these Shadow Balls. See what the opponent wants to come in with here next, but if it's, I mean, there's literally nothing here. Registeel, there's nothing. There's nothing they can come in with that's going to be able to just handle Dragapult right now with this much energy and a shield. This thing is really just able to rip through this meta, and this is why I think it's so good. I would almost consider it to be better than Giratina, but Giratina does have a little bit more bulk that I like to have, and it's a perfect safe swap for this format, to be honest. Now, the opponent still has another Pokemon in the back. I'm going to look to go for the Ominous Wind here just before they get to a charge move, and they are clearly not fond of switching out here, and it's because they have an Empoleon, and we're going to be able to get the Shadow Ball off here. Even though we're debuffed, which is unfortunate, we should happily be able to take a Shadow Ball to the house here, and, I mean, we should also, with a shield, be able to get the Astonish down or a Breaking Swipe in, if we were able to sneak a move through when the opponent throws like that. But thanks, Niantic, for having a broken game. We are not going to be able to get our fast move through, but thankfully the opponent was not at 2 moves, and we were able to get to the Breaking Swipe like we should have been able to and take the game. Well played. And we snap on a 5-0 to start it off, and let's get into the next set here. Azumarill. Did I say 7-3? I don't know if I even said it, but it's 8-2. I go for one bullet punch here and then swap into my Giratina here just to see if the opponent wants to switch out of this matchup. Now, they do have Ice Beam, which is a problem for me a bit. As long as I'm throwing my Shadow Claws on 1, 4, 7, or even 10 if I have to, which is the amount of Shadow Claws I'm throwing into the Azumarill to guarantee that I'm throwing on good timing, I will never have my moves caught as long as I'm paying attention, right? So Ice Beam is going to do quite a bit, but I knew that they were only at the Ice Beam, and I should be able to get to 2 Shadow Balls here. This is the power of Giratina. Even in a negative matchup, you would think, in an Azumarill, we're going to just farm down and have a Shadow Ball ready to go for whatever comes in here, and the opponent brings in a Turtonator. Now, unfortunately, I do give them a full Incinerate, but honestly, I'm not worried about this because I can just throw my Dragapult in now, shield farm all the way down, and again, like we saw previously, there's nothing that wants to deal with Dragapult with this much energy. Opponent's going to go for that, and they have a Mawile. Okay, this is a little bit risky. They have a Fire Fang Mawile, and I don't really know what I want to do here. I probably should have tried to, I should have gone for the bait in hindsight. Obviously, I'd rather just throw it and make them make the decision. Go for the Breaking Swipe here. No attack drop. Opponent can only ever get to a power-up punch or a play rough, and both of those should either not knock out or use up all their energy, and we're able to Astonish down afterwards, and the opponent's Turtonator is not going to be able to handle the matchup afterwards, and we take it. Good game. Getting into the next battle, we have another Turtonator on the lead, and I'm out. I'm getting right into my Giratina here to try and make some magic happen. The opponent's staying in to try and get that shield, but instead they go for 2 Incinerates and then swap out, and I cannot tell you guys that that is the worst mistake that you can make being on the opponent's side right now, is giving this Giratina this much energy. I think that Azumarill maybe wins the 2s if you have Ice Beam, but that's only assuming that they don't bait. And as the Shadow Ball, like at this point, I'm full sending, dude. The opponent has given me so much energy. They're down a shield, and I'm almost at a 3rd Shadow Ball, and I haven't had to shield until just now. They go for the Play Rough, meaning I can go for a few more if I want to, but I am just going to play it safe, go for 1 more, and then the Shadow Ball, see if I can't get that shield from the opponent, and they give it to me at this point. I can get a full farm down of this Azumarill if I want to right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to say, you know what? They're this weak to Giratina that their best answer is Azumarill. I'm going to save a shield for Dragapult and let it switch or sweep. So now we're going to go for that 1 bullet punch in case it's relevant later. Now we're going to go into our Dragapult here, and the opponent's staying in to throw this Dragon Pulse and get my final shield. But if they stay in, they're going to have to take a move. But there's an Empoleon. It's a Shadow Empoleon. I can farm up a little bit, go for about 3 Astonishes, make sure they can't make it to a Hydro Cannon or a Drill Peck, knock them out with the Shadow Ball. Boom! And then go for 3 Astonishes into the Breaking Swipe and be able to take out the Turtonator. Now, we probably would have been able to knock out with the Night Slash we had stored from that range as well, but just for good measure, good game to the opponent. We're taking him out with Dragapult. Where are the 2 losses at, you say? Well, we have an Azumarill on the lead in the next game, and I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing, and I'm going to safe switch into my Giratina, but this time I'm going to do it right away, because I feel like maybe that might be a little bit better. Now, my opponent brings in what looks to be a Mudshot Flygon, and from last time we had Fantasy Cup, I've played this matchup out a bunch because I was safe swapping my Giratina in that format as well. And while Flygon is a really good counter to Giratina, if they eat a Shadow Ball, it's not so good anymore. So we're going to be able to completely eliminate the Flygon here. And the opponent tried to call that bait, and they were not having it. And that's why I try not to bait if I don't have to. It's just a thing. Like, if you're ever against me and you see me, like, I'm probably not baiting. Now, I'm hoping the opponent maybe lost count and maybe thinks this is a Shadow Ball. We're going to go for the Ominous. They don't shield. Very nice shield call by them. Dragapult is going to come in here. We have a really positive matchup into the Azumarill, and we're going to be able to get this farm down. And we're down a shield now, but the opponent comes in with the Azumarill. I'm going to come in with my Scizor, hoping that they don't have Hydro Pump. Opponent's going to go for a move. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let it go. If you have the Hydro Pump, so be it. They have the Play Rough. We're going to be able to get to these Trailblazers and start getting the opponent low here. We are going to be able to get the second Trailblaze, rather, sorry. Hopefully, that's what I'm aiming for here. If I can't get it, I'm just going to settle for a Night Slash and hope for the best. The opponent saw 1 Trailblazer. They're going to shield the next one. And they are going to shield, so we're in a really good position here. As long as they don't catch my next move, I am solid. I can farm down the Excadrill. And this is where waiting a turn would have been great for me. I throw right away because I lost track of how much energy they had, and they swapped immediately, taking a really good win for me, and they're going to be able to flip it because they have the energy in order to win this game. Unfortunately for me, I'm not going to be able to take this one. The opponent making a really nice catch and read there. Good game to them. Well played. Now for me, looking back, I could have waited the one turn to see if they were going to switch, because bubbles take a little while. And if it hadn't switched, then I would have been able to do something about it. Now, opponent makes a very strange call here. They have an Empoleon lead, and they actually decide to bring in Turtonator. And I think that their best play here was actually not to swap. And I think they kind of realized that when I went for the Shadow Ball and they didn't shield. At this point, we are looking really, really good here. We're going to be shielding up the Dragon Pulse. Giratina's got a bunch of energy, still very healthy. The opponent has the Empoleon. I could go for the Ominous Wind here, but I don't want to end up getting a bait call wrong here. Just going to make them make the decision to shield, because with this much of an advantage here, we're looking pretty good. I'm going to let this go. Hope that Dragapult might be able to sweep in the end game. Again, their best answer to me was essentially going to be the their best answer to me was the Dragon, or the Giratina was, my goodness, that hurt, by the way. The best answer boom to the Giratina was the Turtonator, so I figure, okay, we're pretty safe here. I need to get to 2 Breaking Swipes before they get to 2 Dragon Claws. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get there, and I know Shield because I know they have 2 moves, and I know I've lost this game. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to the opponent here. Well played to them. Turtonator on the lead in the final game of the second set here, and we are going to be dipping straight into Giratina. Watch the Magic Trainers. It's going to be wonderful. The opponent comes in with the Azumarill, and you guys have seen this before. If you guys are catching this video early, maybe you use this as your way to know you can absolutely destroy an Azumarill with a Giratina Origin if you have it. Dragapult also does fairly well, but it's a little bit more awkward because you have the same move timing, so it's not as easy to interrupt their moves by going for Shadow Claws. Instead, you have to just time your Astonish as well. Also, the Astonish pacing to Shadow Ball is a little bit worse than Shadow. Well, actually, I think it's about the same, honestly. 14 turns, it's about 6. It's like 6 Astonishes, so that's 18 turns, and then 5 to the second. So, not an amazing pacing advantage for Dragapult. Shadow Claw will get you there sooner. But even still, just having that Shadow Claw pacing is just really nice. Now, we're going to just completely eat this Dragon Pulse here. We have no real option because we don't have any shields, but we are going to be able to come in with the Dragapult, and we should be able to get to the next Breaking Swipe. Now, I was thinking about going for 5 and doing a CMP tie, but I have been on the bad end of so many one-turn lag issues. I am like, I'm not. So opponent comes in here with a Ferrothorn, and they throw right away on 4, going for a Power Whip here, which is an interesting call for me. That's basically telling me they're probably running Thunder, and then they drop in the Azumarill trying to catch a move and are unsuccessful. They concede the match when they realize they're going to have to take a Shadow Ball to the face, and that's going to be a good game. Well played to the opponent. This team is insane, and I mean, like, there was probably both of those losses that I lost to. I probably could have won those and gone 10-0. Like, this team is a potential meta-breaking team, and I think it's really an awesome team. So again, shoutouts to Elodicolo for creating this team and posting it on Twitter. I had so much fun with the Dragapult, really. It's the first time since building it that I could ever even use it, and it's got good IVs too. So I'm like, dude, I gotta find a use for this thing, right? So let me know in the comments if you're going to be playing Ultra League or if you're going to be playing the Fantasy Cup next week. I'm going to be putting out another really strong team for Fantasy Cup, so another option that doesn't have Giratina, but it's going to have Dragapult. So, I mean, what can we do, right? So that's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.